Let me tell you about a test I give every woman I talk to on the apps. They don't know they're taking it. It's not a trick or a trap, it's just something I throw into conversations early. Something slightly off or absurd, something that seems to come out of left field. Because how someone responds to the unexpected tells me everything about whether the conversation is going to go anywhere. If they laugh and build on it, if they take a weird thing I just introduced somewhere interesting, I immediately know this person thinks on their feet and is willing to go somewhere unexpected and maybe even a little weird. I know this is going to be someone I can talk to. If they say something like, I don't really know how to answer that, and pivot to something safer and boring, if they flatten it and move on like something I said was slightly concerning, I know something just as important. There's nothing wrong with them, and they're probably right to think I'm weird and try to get things back to normal. But I can see fundamentally that we think differently, which makes things difficult when you're trying to build a conversation with someone and you keep throwing something into the air and watching it fall to the ground instead of getting thrown back to you. There's a concept in improv called yes and. You've probably heard about it. The rule is simple. When your scene partner introduces something, an idea, a character, a situation, no matter how outrageous, you don't block it, you don't ignore it, you accept it as real, and then you build upon it. Yes, and you said, did you see the new spaceship I just bought? Yes, and I can't believe you didn't get the leather seats. You said, I'm your long-lost identical twin. Yes, and I'm the better-looking one. The whole point is that the scene goes somewhere when both people are building. They go nowhere when one person keeps blocking what the other introduces. One person creates momentum, the other kills it. Nothing goes anywhere. The best conversations work exactly the same way. Not that everything has to be a funny bit, but the underlying dynamic, are you building on what I'm offering or are you shutting it down, is a difference between a conversation that has energy and one that feels like you're pulling a sled uphill the whole time just to move it along. And I've been doing a hell of a lot of sled pulling lately. Here's the pattern I've lived through approximately 400 times this past year. I match with someone, we start talking, I say something with a little spin on it, slightly unexpected, that has personality behind it. And they respond with the most literal, flat, direct answer possible. No addition or acknowledgement that anything interesting just happened. So I try again. Different angle, something else with a little energy behind it. Same result. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm doing all of this alone. It's like playing catch with someone who just lets the ball hit him in the chest every time instead of catching it and throwing it back. And after a while, you just stop throwing because there's no point. And here's what makes it worse. The conversation doesn't end dramatically. Nobody says anything wrong and nobody's rude. It just slowly runs out of oxygen. The exchanges get shorter, the gap between responses get longer, and eventually it just stops because neither person has enough reason to keep it going. That's the version of an ending that happens hundreds of times a day on these apps. Not exactly ghosting or a fight, just a conversation that ran out of steam because only one person was actually driving it. A few weeks ago, I matched with someone who changed my thinking on something. We'll call her Shannon. Within a few exchanges, I threw something out there, slightly absurd, something that required a response with a little imagination behind it. She caught it, threw something back, funnier than what I sent. That moment, the moment something I threw actually came back with more on it, was actually startling, because it was so rare, because I had forgotten what it felt like to say something and have someone not just receive it, but actually do something with it. Add to it, improve it, send it somewhere I hadn't expected. I went with it. She went further. We were building something. For days, the conversation had great momentum. She asked questions, real ones, follow-up ones. She remembered what I said 6 messages ago and came back to it. She had opinions she stated directly and defended when I pushed back. She was funny in a specific way without being like performing, just actually funny because she was engaged. It was the first time in months I thought this could probably be something. Then some things came up that showed that we were incompatible in different ways. But the point here isn't how it ended. The point is what it confirmed. The person I'm looking for exists. One out of roughly 400, but she still exists. Someone who can take what I throw and do something with it. Someone who thinks on their feet, and someone who finds the unexpected interesting instead of unsettling. Someone who brings her own energy to the exchange instead of waiting for me to generate all of it. So it's not an impossible standard. That's just someone who can have a conversation. I want to be clear because I think this could be misunderstood. I'm not looking for someone who's fake or always on or funny or treats every interaction like they're trying to get a role in a movie. I'm looking for someone who's present and paying attention to what I'm saying instead of waiting for their turn to talk. Who finds things interesting enough to follow up on, where it feels like two people talking instead of one person dragging the other one along for the ride. The yes and thing is simply about engagement and whether you get it. I'm finding most people just aren't built that way, or maybe the ones who are already taken. The truth is that most people on the apps, well, their minds just don't really work that way. They're going through the motions, answering questions, and technically participating in an exchange while being fundamentally absent from it. You could feel that absence immediately. You feel it in those flat responses, the way something you said with personality behind it gets met with a form question, in the way the conversation has no momentum or sense that anything interesting is happening between two people. You feel it and you pretty much know it. This isn't going anywhere. The thing I throw out of left field early in a conversation isn't really a test of whether someone is funny as much as it's a test of whether they're curious. Funny people can be boring conversationalists, and serious people can be endlessly interesting. The thing I'm actually measuring isn't wit, it's whether someone is curious enough about what just happened to engage with it instead of deflecting it. Curiosity is what makes a conversation go somewhere and makes someone ask follow-up questions instead of waiting for their next question to answer. It's what makes them remember something you said 2 days ago and come back to it. It makes them bring their own ideas into the exchange instead of just responding to yours. Curiosity is what Shannon had, and 400 others didn't. And it's the thing that's impossible to fake over any length of time. You could fake interest for a few exchanges and ask a polite question or two, but the kind of curiosity that makes someone engage with something unexpected instead of dropping it either shows up early or doesn't show up at all. Throwing something absurd into a conversation isn't exactly a sophisticated screening tool, and I didn't discover anything profound that a lot of people aren't already doing their own version of. But an interesting response to an unexpected question is one of the few things in early dating that's hard to do if you're not really being you. You can either engage with it or you can't. You either know how to build on it or you don't. And it lets me know more about whether this is going to go somewhere than anything else I could do. So I'm looking for another Shannon, without the other incompatibilities. Someone who catches what I send and does something with it. Who makes me funnier by being funny back. Who takes the conversation somewhere I didn't see coming and makes me glad it went there. Who's curious enough about what I'm saying to follow up on it instead of waiting for the next prompt. Someone who makes the conversation feel like it's being crafted by two people instead of dragged uphill by one. That's the whole thing. It's not complicated. It's just apparently very rare.